Shalom. Call halal Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakaha Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. The 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners among the heathen that look like the heathen. This isn't a black thing. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And this is going to be a correction on this duffel bag Israelite here. You know, you got the rise, or I call them one body in cointelpro. All right. You know, and the other camps just like them, these 501c3 charter duffel bag. Change the doctrine, you know, don't use the name, teach against the MOTB, you know, these type guys, you know, these Hellcat driving, you know, market sharing, you know, Israelites that are basically dealing with Rome, Babylon, and Egypt on a financial level, and have the thought process that gain is godliness. Gain is not godliness. The Lord didn't have a roof over his head. He didn't have a pot to piss in. Yet he's the ruler of the universe under his father. All right. But this guy, you know, the guys like this, they don't acknowledge the prophecies. All right. Because when you go into the prophecies tell you who Esau is today. All right. And I just find it mind-boggling that you could use, I'm going to give you an example. Let's go to the scriptures. And I'm going to use two scriptures that we use especially once you do the research that are surrounded around these prophecies that I'm about to talk about. You're able to easily realize or come to the conclusion that could only be the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. And the first one being Deuteronomy 28:68. This is the basic, but yet most, I never heard it. You know, I woke up to the truth at 38. All right. Had been in and out of those churches my entire life, and no one had ever broke down Deuteronomy 28, the 28th chapter. The curses. No one ever broke down how important the prophecies are, because the prophecies are how you identify. All right, so let's get that first. This is how you identify who the Israelites are. Deuteronomy 28, and let's start at 43. And it says, "The stranger that is within thee shall get up high, shall get above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low." You know, I was in the hood today, coming through it. All right. I went and I walked into a liquor store to get a snack, and it was Ishmael in there. Had Jake as a security guard, armed. Okay, and they know that we're not supposed to eat the swine, but yet they had a rack full of it. Ishmael knows that you're Jacob. He won't eat that swine, but he'll feed it to you. And their shelves were stocked with all, you know, all manner of alcohol. Full, you know, the store was full. Because all I could think about is how that store is going to get raided and burnt down and emptied out, you know, when the lights go out, when all the craziness comes. But they get up, you know, the heathen get among you and get up very high above you. All right. So that's exactly what they're talking about. "He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail." The so-called Negro is on the bottom in every place in the world that they're scattered to. All right, and you can say the same thing for the so-called Hispanic and Native. And we know who lends all the money, who owns the banks, the small hats. And we're going to get to them in prophecy too. All right. It says, "Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. This will be the condition of the Israelites, which will make it quite easy to be able to identify them in every society that they're in. And guess what? The Jewish people don't fit any of these things that I just read. They're the opposite. They're the lenders, not the borrowers. Okay? So it said it will be upon them forever as a mark. All right? Jumping up to 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. All right, so who had yokes of iron placed upon their necks and were destroyed as a people? Definitely not the Jewish people. When you do your proper research, you find out that they were in control of the slave trade. They were in control of the ships that were bringing the royal bloodline of the house of Judah from the west coast of Africa. In the parts of Africa that was referred to as Negro land. The old maps from the 1700s, they call it Negro land, and they had places called Fort Judah and Fort Levi, right there. Jumping up to verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Egypt meaning captivity. The house of bondage. That's what Egypt means. See, will bring you into bondage again with ships. All right. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, the land of Israel. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Meaning no man shall redeem you. Not buy as in purchase, like this. This is a crazy name for some mountain spring water. But I'm drinking some water right now called Liquid Death. But it's natural artesian water. All right. Why they gave it that name, I have no idea. I'm just trying to be cool. All right. But nevertheless, through these prophecies, we are able to identify, all right? Because the same thing happened to the so-called natives and the so-called Latins of America. They won't know same slave ships with the Negroes. They just the same way that they hid the history about the color of the Israelites. They hid the history of what those people went through. But there's too much evidence to prove that they won't know slave ships being sold into slavery, often right along with Judah. And remember, the slave trade started with the so-called natives of the Americas. All right. Cristobal Colon, who the world fraudulently knows as Christopher Columbus, he came over with Hebrew interpreters. And why did he need Hebrew interpreters to go to India? All right. Though that's the accepted lie that the so-called white man, who this guy wants to deny who they are. So now that we've established that, he said 3 precepts. So I'm going to talk about them first. So we're going to talk about Obadiah. All right. And Obadiah is a curse and a warning unto Esau, Edom. No other nation went into the heavens. Okay. The next scripture that we're going to talk about, the next precept would be Edom also, they got their hands on the ancient high places. They were able to commandeer the Holy Land in the latter days. Well, the prophecies say that that's Edom. It doesn't say that it was Japhet. All right, because that's another lie that I don't know who they're gonna say the so-called white man is. That if he's Japhet, because once again you have to go to prophecy, and the things that the so-called white man has done. When you look at the book Without Sanctuary, with all the, and I have that book. All right, first time I used it, Esau Edom said, deleted my video or blocked it or whatever, some years ago. But there is no place in prophecy that says that Japhet would be ruling the world. There's no place in prophecy that said Japhet would take the land of Israel, and there's no prophecy that said Japhet would go into the heavens. All right, meaning achieve flight. All right, because they didn't actually go into the heavens. They never went to the moon. You believe that, then then you believe that I have 3 eyes. Okay, so then the third scripture would be in the Maccabees when Edom came into power. All right, and when Edom came into power was through who? Through Alexander of Macedon, Alexander the Great. All right, when you trace Alexander's biblical lineage, Alexander's biblical lineage goes back to Esau, Edom. So let's read the scriptures to correct this babbling fool here, this duffel bag boy. All right. So what was the first one I mentioned? Oh, Obadiah. So let's go to Obadiah, because there's no prophecy that says that any other nation would achieve that. Esau would be the first and the only prophesied in the Bible to do that. All right. So Obadiah reads, a vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom. All right. We have heard a rumor from Yahweh, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. All right. So everyone's going to rise up against Esau, Edom eventually, and that's happening now. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. All right. And then verse 3, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cleft of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? All right. So we know about Mount Seir, and that was definitely the home, which is in Jordan, south of Israel, and which was definitely the original home of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The relics left behind there prove it. All right. And those relics have come out as of recently, because if you were looking at the relics, matter of fact, let me put some of them on the screen just to prove that point. Because if you were looking at the relics that were left behind in the places that are in and around and near Petra, as they call it today, you would easily be able to identify that you would think at first glance, well, these are Grecians. All right, so here we go. And this is the video where you can go to for your own research. But you would think that was ancient Greece. It isn't. That's a city about 20, 30 miles south of Jordan, another stronghold and a temple for the people that lived in Petra, in and around that area. All right, so Salakia. Wait. Let's bring them up again. Just give me a second. There we go. So as you can see, that's Petra. That was a guy who was the host of the video. All right. That's definitely Petra. Japhet didn't build like that. Yep. Petra, not Greece. But these are the same people. You can clearly see that. You would think you were looking at the relics in some museum of things in ancient Greece. Well, in a sense, these are the descendants, or the ancestors, the earlier ancestors of the people who call themselves Greek today. And this was Petra, their home. These are so-called white people, not Arabs. All right. And this is in Jordan, which they call this is Western Asia, that they call the Middle East. So I hope you followers of, and this was a temple where they all sat. And this is near Petra in Jordan. All right. So let's go back to the scripture. And there were eagles on top of those structures too. And that's a very important detail. Verse 4, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh. And that prophecy came to pass here in America. All right? Because as soon as they went into the heavens and then made that landline phone call to the White House, oh my God. America's been on a fast decline ever since. It was the end of the oh happy days. All right. I mean, look at Detroit. You know, the Motor City. The whole country is starting to look like what used to be booming business with the car companies in Detroit. America started to deteriorate. Right, from its first war in the Southeast Asia, all right, and they got and brought all those drugs back here to the Americas for pharmaceutical and for street use. They got you two ways. They got you with your insurance and through the doctor. Then if they didn't get you money that way, they use it to help destroy Jake and the family, and then got you incarcerated into their private prisons. He's asking for 3 precepts. I could go all day on this subject matter. All right. So Obadiah 1:4. All right. I read from 1 to 4, 4 being the main point. All right. And then and when you get to verse 6, it says how the things of Esau sought out. So all those prophecies fit Esau. Those prophecies don't fit any other nation, all right, or Japhet, because that's the usual suspect when they try to say the white man is Japhet or some of the white men are Japhet. No, there's not 2 sets of white people, all right, which they try to push, that all the Edomites died and the white people left are Japhet. No, that's a man-made fallacy. And this is a face of a fool who took the bag. So what was the next scripture that I mentioned? Oh, I said the ancient high places. So let's go to that. That's Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, which is one of my favorite scriptures. Because this is a hot potato that no vocab Malone or that none of them like to touch this. All right. The point being in 5, but I'm going to read verse 2. Ezekiel 36:2. Thus saith the Lord power, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. All right. Jumping down to 36 and the point. Okay. And there's so many precepts to go. I'll mention them, but I've been Amos 7:17, Joel 2:24, Lamentation 5:2, Isaiah 34:8. Is so many just to Ezekiel 36 and 5. But this one is enough. All right. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. So I guess one body in COINTELPRO is going to now say that Idumeans are not, is doesn't mean Edom. Right? Which shows you that they also tampered with the Bible, because how did this Greek word get into the Old Testament? All right. It says, which have appointed my land into their possession with all the joy of their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. That was a future prophecy that didn't happen until 1948. All right. The paperwork for it, the planning for it, the conspiracy for it. All right, because they conspired to do it, and then they did it. Started in with the First World War. Second World War, they got it. All right, they definitely needed that, so they got that banking system going. In 1913, they got the Federal Reserve, and they finally got Israel as their capital. The small hats, the Idumeans, the Edomites. Not Japhet. Unless you're going to say only the fake Jews, or that's another doctrine out there, that only the fake Jews are Edom and the rest of the white people are Japhet. That's another false doctrine that's going around. All right. So maybe they're trying to push that. I don't know. But either way, what these guys are pushing is fraudulent. All right. Now, for those of you who may be new, just because someone is so-called white don't mean that they're Edomite. You know, Jacob laid his seed among a lot of the Edomites. You got a lot of Edomites whose forefathers go back to our people, which make them our people. Just like you're going to have dark people whose forefathers go back to Edomites. They're just chocolate-covered Edomites. All right, like to use Tia and Tamara as an example of that. They're perfect examples of that. They're pretty melanated women. They look like so-called black women, but they're not. Okay? So that was 2. So let's go to the book of Maccabees now. First Maccabees. And see that, and I had to respond to this, and there's other things I wanted to do, but this, this is one of the things that much needed to be done. And let me go ahead and read through this, and I'm going to read from verse 1 all the way down to verse 9. All right. First Maccabees 1:1. And it happened that after Alexander, the son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persian Medes, that he reigned in his stead, meaning his race, his bloodline, the first over Greece. All right. The Grecians, the actual Grecians, the sons of Japhet, the sons of Javan, or Yawan, however you want to say it, would be your those headdresses that the Romans wore. That was originally worn by the people you call Hawaiians and Samoans. Those pics, tattooed up brown skin bodies, just like in all their ancient photos. All right, you have ancient paintings of the Etruscans, and they're not so-called white. And those are the sons of Japhet. All right, the Etruscans were the people that you refer to as Samoans and Polynesians and the people in Fiji Island, and here they are. All right. Those are Japhetic people. Etruscans. The Rock's mother, not his father, because the Rock is a so-called black man. So-called, because his father is Rocky Johnson. Look up Rocky Johnson. He's built just like his father. Stands like him, even moves like him. Okay, so those are your actual Japhetic people. They were not white. These are the original inhabitants of Eurasia or Asia. They added the Eur in there. All right, this is simply Western Asia, Northwestern Asia. The so-called Middle East is Southwestern Asia. That's what they call, Thailand and Cambodia, Southwest Asia. Southeast Asia. These were the original inhabitants of Southwest Asia. Okay, let's go back to the scripture. So those are the people that were conquered by the so-called white men and pushed out of their land, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. So he was going throughout Asia, slaying all the melanated people, removing them. All right, and lightening them up that were left, because his soldiers were raping and robbing and pillaging. All right. And he went through the ends of the earth and took spoils of many nations, insomuch the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted and his heart was lifted up. That's why Moab fled so far east and then built the Great Wall of China to keep, people like him out. All right. It says, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him. So these people had to pay, to keep the peace, keep his armies off of them. And after these things he fell sick and perceived that he should die. Wherefore he called all his servants, such as were honorable men that had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive. This is history that's in your textbooks. All right, in your encyclopedias. All right. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule every one in his place, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so that their sons after them, and many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. So when Alexander and his brethren, his people, the Edomites, all right, the so-called white man, and Amalek, because he's an Amalekite on top of that, and he set up other Edomites in power, and they fought in war with each other the same way that they're fighting in war with each other today. All right, he set up Ptolemy over Egypt, and then he set up the rest over everything else, and all its Seleucius and Demetrius, and all they did was fight one another. All right, when they ran out of melanated people to destroy, they just started destroying each other. All right, so with that, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash, Kwam Yasharallah, Abba Babal.